Hello, New York City Charter Schools. This is Tracy Davy with a video to help you close out your year of reporting for student daily attendance. Each year, the State Education Department publishes multiple documents to help us with our work and you with the work that you need to do. First and foremost, usually, actually, any time now, I'm recording this in June of 2025, a memo will come out with a timeline for the reporting of the next school year, the 25-26 school year. These documents, actually mostly just the timeline, will update throughout the year if anything is added or edited in that information. These are, a great resource and always available to you. At the end of each year, and this one was just published at the end of May, is when the State Education Department will hand out, email all the schools, the end of school checklist. These 4 documents list for you each folder that someone at your school is expected to access in L2RPT, level 2 of the data warehouse, and it's also the IBM Cognos software that we use for ReportNet, to download various SIRS reports. It'll tell you the exact number, they're all SIRS something, and the title of the report. And then there are notes over here to the right. As you can see, the second item here is not even required for charter schools because you're not responsible for the pre-K programs that might be at your building. Those are run by the DOE themselves. Right here on the first page, we see the attendance reports that are due, to review your day calendar for accuracy, and then to review the record count. Here is listed for the district and for the individual school. As charter schools, each of you would have one DBN and a institution code for, that's how the reports will show. And we'll dive into what that looks like soon. Student daily attendance is the largest data set that we collect. For a school with an average of 100 students enrolled throughout the year, the expectation would be that there would be a record for each student on every day of school. A minimum of 180 days is what the state requires for each school, which would end up being 18,000 records. So if you are a high school with an average daily enrollment of about 1,000 students, you will be needing to report approximately 180,000 records. Don't let that panic you. We know it's big, but once the data is flowing, it's going to be relatively easy because we're here to help you. And if you have been to have any of these software systems, they are there to help you also. Each of these items, 6 different systems, have an extract in their software that takes all of the attendance that's been reported throughout the year and spits it out in a CSV, a comma separated value file that will load perfectly into level 0. Honestly, I've been on the phone with the 2 newest ones listed here, Jupiter and Alma, and I've been able to watch schools get the file in the exact format and import it directly to level 0. The deadline for reporting all of your student daily attendance records is July 3rd. This is the earliest deadline for all schools in all of New York State. We know this and we're here to help you. Hopefully you've received different nudges from us throughout the year encouraging you to report the data monthly. It takes 3 templates to report this data. The state first needs to know what is your day calendar, when do you have school. They need to know the attendance codes that you use. And they also then need all of those individual attendance records. So level 0 is open 24/7, for most of the school year, right? And July 3rd we're closing at 5 p.m. that night. Our help desk will be available to help you. We'll be home for the weekend, but level 0 will still be available. When we come back to the office on Monday, we're going to look for schools who have errors in their level 0, and we're going to want to help you. We're also going to look for anyone who has asked us to help you review a file or requested an appointment with us for help. We'll take time during that week to make sure that we have your data in the best shape possible and forward it to the city for submission to the State Education Department. Reporting student daily attendance is across 12 different fields, but only 7 of them require data. There are multiple fields where all you're reporting is the your school institution code, the DBN, the school year, and it's a basic format. But however you maintain your data, you're going to want to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. Level 0 has various data quality and validation checks that will help you to review. Okay, first I want to review some ABCs for this reporting. First and foremost, you must report all of your data, and when you do that, it has to be free of errors. You could have 187,000 records, you could have 500,000 records, whatever it takes to report the data for your school in level 0. But if there's a single error in there, your data is not going to move. So it's important to be aware of whether or not you have errors and if you need help clearing them up. We do have resources on our website and actually in level 0 in the help section where you can review helpful hints on how to clear up errors. And here are some right now. This is a view of the import screen in level 0. We'll first cover import errors. In general, an import error means that the data is either not in the right format or something is just completely wrong. When you're performing your imports, it will always default to do not delete your data. So if you loaded a month, then you load the next month, it's not going to delete the prior months. If you are loading your entire file for the school year on each extract, and that might be the case when you have one of those software systems who have a nice extract for state reporting, then it may be helpful to use the delete load. We'll talk about different deletions. If you need help with deletions, you're just going to call us because we're here for you. As you're prepping the file, you actually choose the file, it checks to make sure it's in the right format, and then it tells you to validate. Only one person from the 281 schools and all of us here at Eastern Suffolk BOCES can be hitting this exact validate button at one time. So as a school is loading the data, and it might be hundreds of thousands of records, it should only take a few seconds, maybe a few minutes for that data to load. I suggest keeping the screen open and watching for this little spot right here about being ready for validate. It will turn red when it's in use and it'll go back to green afterwards. If ever, especially at this time of year, at the end of the school year, that is red and stays red, please give us a call. We do monitor for this, but you might find something before we do, and we want to make sure that the data is continuously flowing. Here's an example of an import error. In the file that I had just loaded to make this video, I intentionally made a mistake and left the district code, that's the data in the very first column of the file, blank. Let's take a look at how that would appear in the file. I'm going to go through actually multiple errors on this screen. If you're creating data using Excel or Sheets and you're pasting a number down the line, right, down through the many rows, it's possible that Sheets wants to help you. Actually, it'll try to, and it will increase the number in each row. In this event, we need the exact same number. The institution code doesn't change as long as you're at the same school. So you want to check and see if that code is correct and be sure to update it and paste the exact numbers. Another common error that we see is that if you're using especially our ReportNet extract, possibly an extract from any other system, that the student names and maybe even their grade level are in the file. The state will manage all the data based solely on a student ID. So if you look at the file, you go back to your Excel file or sheet and you see that the student names are in there, you're going to need to delete the columns, the entire column. Also important here is to, make sure that these codes are correct. I know I had another thought in there, but I can't think of it at the moment. There's 12 fields in total. You need to make sure that that's what you see on your screen. Here we're looking at the student IDs, and now I spy an error in a date format. All dates in level 0 must be designed as a 4-digit year hyphen 2-digit day hyphen month and then hyphen 2-digit day. If you see slashes in there, You'll want to go back to your Excel file or sheet, or maybe take the CSV that you extracted from a software system, drop it into one of those to correct the format. Let's see. The dates, my best recommendation, especially for something like this where dates are where you really have to change everything on every row, is to leave your sheet or Excel file open until you complete the import. There are certain places or placeholders. This is a template, and the right piece of those right 7 pieces have to be in the correct spot. And there are 3 blank lines over here at one spot. Actually, it's 3. Yeah, it's 3 blank lines before you see the code of the attendance code. This is an excused absence. Here are some present in school. Next field would be the school year. And then there are 2 spaces. So it's you finish the school year, a blank, a comma, and then the next comma to show that there's 2 entire columns that need to be blank because those are not used by the state education department. And then the modality. Modality expresses whether or not, reports to the state, a student received their instruction in person at their physical school building. The attendance records here for present in, present out is talking about did they receive instruction on a day, and were they in the physical school building or were they out of school? When someone could be out of school and receiving in-person instruction if they are possibly like in a hospital or at home, recovering from surgery and accident. God bless them. Hopefully I don't rush that on anybody. But if they're, if they have a tutor coming to the home, it might still be in-person instruction. So let me point some of these out. The issue that we saw on the other screen where there was that little blank in there because the district code was empty, that is usually because there are blank rows at the bottom. And then, as I mentioned before, this has to end where we see the modality of instruction, that 12th field or letter L in Sheets or Excel. And then all the other spaces the other columns totally have to be deleted. You can't just delete the data because there's nothing in those, hitting a delete on the keyboard. You need to actually delete the columns. So that's an important one. The easiest way to see these is by turning on a filter in one of those software systems. If you see filters on columns that are empty, then you know that there's blank in there, there's some blanks in there, and you need to delete the entire columns. Same thing at the bottom. Look at the filter. If it shows you that there are blanks in a field where data is required, such as the student ID or possibly the institution code, the DBN and whatnot dates, then you'll know that there are some blank lines at the bottom that also must be deleted. We will happily review your CSV files to help you. The best way to get that to us, because student IDs, we want to protect them, please send it to us with our file dispatcher from our website. You would hover over secure. Actually, I think you have to tap on it and then tap on file dispatcher. All of our level 0 users would then put in their email address. We will verify that you are an active authorized user and that your account works. You'll get a code in an email, and then you'll be able to load the file directly on our server, which either Ben, Jen, or I can get to, Bonnie, Jen, and I can get to update to review the files, update the data for you if we can. With File Dispatcher, the data must be in the CSV format. You will have a quick questionnaire at the top. Please give us your phone number that we can reach you at in case we have any questions. If it's a quick and easy fix, especially at this time of the year, we're just going to load the data for you and help you out. If there are multiple things that need to be corrected, we may call you, offer you a Zoom, or send you a detailed email to help you to clean that data up for the next import. Then there could be bad data. Bad data is just something that is, again, an error that needs to be cleaned out. Some errors will come into level 0 and then later need to be deleted from level 0. If you need help deleting data from level 0, please call us. I don't want anyone to accidentally ever delete all of your data from level 0. Here's an example of import errors. So that's the file that you're first bringing in, and it's telling you that in this particular file, we had 3,420 errors. The first thing my team and I do when we get a file that we're looking at, our school calls us, they just loaded it, they're like, I don't know what to do now. we go to the report screen in level 0, and we will look at the distinct errors. In the end, there were only 2 types of errors. There were students who IDs in the file that do not align to a demographic record where the city tells us the names of the students associated with each ID. So it was important to make sure that your IDs are correct. That might be something you need to work at, right? We're going to determine if the IDs are correct. The next one are the demographics correct? It's possible that you just got a new student, you loaded some data for that student who enrolled that same day, later that week, but we haven't gotten a final refresh of data from the city yet. Another possibility in this example, the modality of instruction was either the code was wrong, it wasn't IN for in or R for remote, and so it had to be corrected. I believe the example was a capital I, small n. If you see anything in level 0 or in our directions where we're showing you capital letters, please be sure those cases must match. Or it's possible that there were student present records that are missing. Modality is never required when reporting a suspension or an absence because they didn't actually get any instruction. In this case, we are still looking at import errors. There are 23 types of errors, and in this instance, they had somewhere in the field the location code, which should have started with 800 and then 5 other digits, were just a 5-digit code. So those need to be updated in the original file to be imported again. The import errors, the best thing to do to clean up your import errors is to reload your file. And that's why I recommend keeping Sheets or Excel open when you're preparing the data. Then we find that there are, some records, it could be just one, where a demographic record is not aligned to a particular student ID. But for the most part, if this school had hundreds, thousands of errors, the issue was that these custom codes that they have in their software system do not align to the state code in level 0. All that needs to happen to fix those is to go into manual input for a student attendance code, type in the exact code, and then align it to a state code. It's possible that these A's are just absences. Maybe the E's are absences excused. D, I don't know. I'm not going to guess, but that school would know. And if you call us for help, we'll ask you and say, all right, so in your software system, what does this mean? Are you saying that the kid is absent or present in school? Again, if you need help, just call us. We're here to help you. If you are stuck on something between 10 to 15 minutes, please stop struggling alone, call us and we'll keep you up and running. This work is very detailed and there's a lot to do, especially at this time of year. Just call us. We want to keep you going. Oh, so here's some information, right? We've got to fix the codes to the correct location. We want to update and import the actual attendance codes that are missing. Here is another example of an import error, right? When there are missing or invalid demographic records, you're able to go back and look at the exact IDs. When this happens and I'm on the phone with somebody, I would ask them, go to your SMS, open up PowerSchool or Alma, search for this ID and tell me that kiddo's name. And then I'll search for that name in level 0 so we can determine if the OSIS number is correct in the software system for the extract. Just to help you keep things going. Actually, okay, so shortly after looking at import errors, we're going to look at some the next level of corrections. They're called verification errors. So verification errors are all about logic. A student ID is not at the actual school, right, when there's no demographic. A student was not enrolled on a particular day, maybe never, when an attendance record was taken. It's possible that there was no school on a day when attendance was taken, just by accident, right? If the day calendar in your software system wasn't correct. There could be multiple records for a single student on a same day. A student is marked absent in first period, but then they show up at second period and the main office is adding a tardy. But if they didn't update the absence too tardy or delete the absence, we now have two records on one day. The data comes into level 0 and is like, I don't know what to do. You got to tell me this is an error. You got to pick which one is correct. And then sometimes then a totally invalid code in your student daily attendance. Let's look at some examples of this. Here's an example of a school who had 1,039 errors on November 5th because attendance was reported on non-instructional day. So you want to consider, did we have school that day? Maybe we weren't in the physical building. It was an instructional day. Or actually in this case, if you loaded attendance being reported on data is non-instructional, the chances are that you had school, but your calendar shows that particular day as non-instructional. All you have to do is access the day calendar and update that day to instructional. If the answer is no, and your software just happened to spit that data out by mistake, I don't know how it happened. Maybe the day calendar in your SMS is not exactly aligned to what happened. Then those 1,039 records for that on that individual day would have to be deleted. You can't do that manually. You can't open up each record, find one date, and pull it out of there with a delete. When you are deleting a record, you're going to identify the record, right? Like let's say a kiddo had a tardy and an absence on the same day, and you have 3 of these errors. You can easily open it up, find the absence, delete, queue it up for you to view the individual record. You're going to hit delete, and then the software asks you, do you want to proceed? You have to hit the button a second time to actually delete that record. Again, when you have many hundreds or thousands of records that need to be deleted, call us because we can do that for you quick and easy. Not manually, I promise. Okay, some other examples where a student has multiple attendance records. Might, we don't know why, we're not judging that, but if you've got to update it, make sure that you do. You'll have to literally go in and find out which one was correct. If this is happening for many, many students, it'd be great to talk to if you have an attendance clerk or an individual teacher to make sure that you know what the actual answer is so that the data can be updated. Okay, in this scenario, I got a lot of information on the screen here. We're looking at the example. You would see on a single day that a kiddo has 2 records. This looks like a present in school, and then here's an unexcused absence. And here it's not aligning to a tardy. Again, there's no judgment on that. You want to just take a look at it. Somehow 2 codes accidentally got flagged for the kiddo, and you're just going to fix it. Again, as you're deleting a record, you would find it in a list in the lower section. You have to tap on it to view it. You hit delete, and then and then it'll ask you about deleting it again, and you confirm it here. When you're looking at an error report, you can jump back and forth from one student to the next. If a student has multiple records on various dates that you need to review, on your screen, you'll be able to see right under the open field of, where data is corrected or input, you can display all the errors for that kiddo so you know which dates you need to review. In the lower section here is where you can see all the records listed. In this particular view here, I knew I needed to correct a date in September, so I chose the month of September. So now I'm only seeing the 20 records in September, and it's easier to find something. So while you're there, after you saved a record, you would see your name in this section of the screen, and then you can go back to the report. In this case, I had it filtered on a particular day of the year when something needs to be repaired. I was looking at the unique errors, not just an individual student. Okay, if in this case, we have a school that opened prior to ATS open. They opened in August, had school for 3 days. And we've got, from a couple dozen down to almost a dozen kiddos that are not listed in ATS as being enrolled during August. This happens frequently for kindergarten students, or actually whatever is the first grade at your school, the lowest grade. So if you are a middle school and your first grade is 6th graders, you don't have a 5th grade class rolling up to the 6th grade. It's possible that you're taking kids off of the wait list during the summer. And when school opens, especially if you open early in August, That enrollment just isn't there yet until ATS opens. Your school has those records. You're going to keep them. If you're ever audited, you're able to show that you have attendance records for the student for the entire year. But in level 0, the OSIS numbers and the ATS enrollments are used as the official state education department, in the data warehouse. So we have to go by those dates. And these records, in this case, we're looking at 60 records for a school, would need to be deleted from level 0. 60 is still a lot, I think. It's doable, right? You could delete them manually, or you could call us and we could delete them with a quick electronic process. Actually, when you call us, we are going to, because we'll be glad to talk through it with you, but we're really going to want an email to have it in writing that you want us to do this action. When you're on the report screen, there's two ways to get there. You're on the home screen and you type on student daily attendance on the chart there, or you hover over reports and go to student daily attendance. This is where you find out what your verification records are. And this is also the best place to see a list of the errors so that you can look at fixing them either back in the other software system, Excel, Sheets, or in your SMS, and loading it back in. To perform the verification, only one person can use the level 0 data checks at a time. I pointed out that you see, a green button when the process is available to you when you're in level 0, but it's actually for 3 different steps. The data is verified on the import, and only one person can do that at a time. And it's usually a matter of seconds that you're waiting until that this goes from green to red as you're about to hit it, and a few moments later, it'll go back to green, ready for you. But you might be in competition with another school. Then when you're on the report screen and you're running a verification there for the verification errors, only one person can do that. And that includes if someone else is importing data, that process will be paused for also the verification checks or even the L1 data completion until it's free and no one else is using it. Again, these files are so big. We collect over 20 million records a year for student daily attendance alone. And the state has specifically designed the software so that only one person can be using the process at a time to ensure that we don't have data issues or that we don't create errors by having overuse and on the memory available in the system. If you've ever tried to look back at attendance for the prior school year, you will see that we also actually level 0 itself, when the new year opens, deletes all the prior year data. And that, again, is because having those records in there would slow down the system. So we want to help you to avoid bad data. We don't want this to result in frustration and leading you to drop kicking your computer. We don't want anything or anyone to get hurt. Here's another example of looking at distinct verification errors. We have to, these are in August again. So, the ones that will be valid, I just realized this is truncated here, will be students who either pre-registered in the prior school year or who are rolling over to your current school year. If someone does not have a valid enrollment on a day of your record for attendance, you'll have in your local system, but we would need to delete it from level 0 for the rest of your data to flow. When you are on our website, this is not in level 0 itself, but if you hover over contact in the lower right-hand corner of every screen on our website, you can then queue up an email to us to ask a question or, give us some information. And you could also see our phone number to give us a call. Our website is visible here. If you just open a new browser, have an empty window, go directly to the address bar and just type in something like NYC Charter and ES BOCES, we will pop up immediately. No one else is doing the kind of work that we're doing at our agency. You'll get our office, I promise. Okay, some more information about, we're up to the C of the ABCs, and that's complete data. The state warns us in the reporting memo that comes out each spring prior to a new school year opening, in the SIRS manual, and in multiple places in level 0, comments from us in the C Weekly, notifications from the state education department and whatnot, we are reinforcing the fact that if you don't report a record for a student on a day of enrollment, that missing record will default to being an absence. The state will not assume that the student was in school if you don't report it. So it's important that you report a record on every single day of enrollment. And Level Zero has a few ways to help you do this, and we do too. So again, when you're doing that L1 data prep, there's a warning right there to ensure that you are reporting complete data. Failure to report a record, missing data will default to an absence. Here is the view of where it's stated in the SIRS manual, page 302, and a warning on the L2RPT report. This is the SIRS 371, which was listed a few pages, screens back for the end of year certification. I love this SIRS 371 report. It is set up, I'll show you in a moment, similar to how the data is viewable in Level 0. But every time you run this report, you will automatically see a count of missing records. In Level 0, you actually have to do some work to create that, that information. Students missing attendance, right, just missing some present records will look like they're absent on a given day, and it could skew your chronic absenteeism rates. So you want to make sure, again, that you report complete data. Also on the state education's website, they report information about this and a reminder about the absences defaulting to, missing data defaulting to an absence is in the glossary and guide. Then there is a student educator report on their data website at data.nisa.gov. Here they show students' attendance rate. So here's an example of a school with 94% attendance. Going back to that L2RPT, you could create a little chart of positive attendance for a student, and that would be presence in and out, and tardies are also positive attendance. They were in school that day. In this scenario, the school did not have any tardy data reported. And then the absences, excused, unexcused, and then the count of the missing records, because remember, they're going to default to absences. And that L2RPT report shows you exactly what that number would be. So if you total up the number of all records, right, including the absences, you're able to calculate the attendance rate. So that it would then be the sum of, all right, to calculate the total number of records, it's the sum of all attendance records, including a count of missing. And then you're going to divide the number of present records by all absences. Again, you must include the number of missing records. And that's how it was calculated out to 94%. In Level 0, when you go to that report screen, again, either tap on student daily attendance from the main screen or hover over reports and choose student daily attendance. This blue bar in the middle has lots of great information for you. Right now, I want to point you out. So there's where you can review the Level 1, import errors, or else look at your Level 2 verification errors. In a moment, we're going to look at missing attendance. On the far right-hand side, there's one that gives you an attendance breakdown. Actually, this import log is really cool too. I frequently look at that one to see a count of records as they've been loaded. If someone tells me they're missing records, that is really going to be the first place I look to see if they ever loaded data and deleted what was previously in Level 0. And then we're going to help figure out where that data might live to fix things for you. And Level 0, okay, so here's information. They've deleted the actual records from the prior school year, but they do leave a tally, and they've actually tallied it by week in memory. So for the date that I ran this report, it was showing me that the record count was slightly less than the previous year. Well, just over 6,000 records less. Didn't have any present out of school. Makes sense. We're getting further away from COVID and not really doing that anymore, right? And so on and so forth, giving you that breakdown. If you put this side by side, again, in this category, I've narrowed it down to the single current year data, although this is a prior year, I am reusing a screen. And then you can compare the numbers. The number of tardies match perfectly. Level 0 gives me L2RPT gives me bonus data with a number of absences, the missing records rather. I can see that the suspensions match. The excused absences match also, but my present records don't match. In this scenario, we dug into the data and found that a student was marked absent 4 times in a given week because they didn't show up to school. Later on, it was discovered that they actually had moved to another school district or inside or out of the city, somewhere in New York State. And while we were reporting an absence, the student was actually enrolled in another school. So when the data, traveled up to the state education department, once they had the new and updated enrollment record, 4 records were no longer valid. So that's why that number is 4 less. If you're really close on these numbers, it's probably perfectly correct. And at this time of year, might not have the ability to dive into it with you as specific as I did for this other example within a school, because they called me in September and said, Tracy, why would I be off by 4? And we figured it out. In level 0, again, from that reporting screen, you can calculate your missing records. To do this, in that report options box, you're going to choose missing attendance. I recommend running it for the whole school. It's going to mean that things are red and no one else can import data or to run their verification at that moment, or even to do the L1 data prep, but that's okay. I want all of you to have the few moments it's going to take for the level 0 to calculate that for you, especially if you don't have access to L2RPT. Same number as we saw in L2RPT. If you do need access to L2RPT, only your superintendent or a designee can get you that account. When they sit down in the SEDOS system on the business portal of the State Education Department's website, they will create a username for you. They will create what data, a listing of what data you're entitled to. You will receive an email, a prompt to create a password, and your access is instantaneous. So that is convenient. When your charter leader logs into L2RPT, the user guide is available right there at the top. We have a recommendation if, depending on what you're going to help them with, you may consider whether or not they want you to work on the institutional master file or any other end of year reporting regarding um, uh, not attendance, discipline issues at your school. I had to think what those stood for. The data exchange, that's a great place where the state will send you some information that you can review. So it's important to have that. Might be important for you as a data coordinator to have access to that also. And then their information reporting services portal. The state frequently, especially as it came time for the course instructor assignment data to be reported, was sending out summary information to the portal for your school so that you could see the status. Do you have your class course instructor assignment data, reported? Have you reported your principal, a charter leader, CEO, who would probably have the title of a superintendent at the school and whatnot? They give you counts on all those. Again, the user guide is right there to help them. And it's possible that they've delegated the system to somebody else to give you that account, but you should check with your CEO or principal to find out who has that access. I know you want it now, and we are here to help you. A great way to get that missing, like an individual line for all the missing dates of attendance, to create those records, is in our ReportNet system. You can also create that directly from the files that you see in level 0. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro on how to do that here. On our website, to get instructions for this, hover over resources, go to the training materials section. You want to look at student daily attendance. We have a listing of common errors. This document is actually also in level 0. And then we have information for accessing ReportNet to get your missing data. You would choose dates on the calendar. In this report, we will actually give you every single record that we have in L1. And then you can import the missing. We do that to ensure that as you're importing the data, that you would never delete or lose any data. So it could be a very large file. This is how the file comes out, and it's there to help you. The first thing I would do would be to recommend that you grab all of the rows of instruction at the top and maybe put it on another page of the worksheet so that you can start sorting information in there. Because the first thing you really need to do is to bring the all the fields where this is empty, right? When the attendance record hasn't been reported yet, so you know what you need to report next. From level 0 to get the missing report, you can either tap on student daily attendance from the home screen, hover over reports, choose your student daily attendance. You're going to tap on the missing. We suggest going to the whole school year and then downloading the data, and it's telling you exactly what it is. In level 0, whatever you are looking at, when you see this download button, whatever you see on your screen, you can download. So if you're looking at enrollment, you'd actually could download it would just show student ID and then an entry date. You could, if you're on the demographic page, you can see your student names, their grade level, and their student IDs. And that's a great place to get a list of the OSIS numbers for your school that we get directly from ATS. I went backwards there for a second, sorry. And then bring that data down. In this file is actually all the information you need to create an Excel file to report just those missing records. Again, here's a view of what it looks like. When you hit the download, you'd have to go up to your browser and then open the file. In this scenario, I brought it into Excel. And then on our website, if you use our templates, you can see the exact, those 12 fields that are required and the exact order they need to be in. And then you can start shifting things into the right positions so that you have the exact layout that you need and you can fill in the attendance codes. And then also ensure that you fix the modality. If your whole school is in person, which is probably the case, I would put just the IN in all the way down. And then possibly if you've had a student who is working remotely because they have some kind of medical excuse or support that they're doing remote work, then you might just need to update a couple of students. As we saw, actually statewide, the average attendance rate for a school for the 23-24 school year was 90%. And an example there, I looked at a school that had a 94% attendance rate. No matter whether your number here is 319 or 30,019, most kids are present on every day. The thing you might want to do to expedite this reporting would be then to fill in an attendance code and a modality for everyone as being present in school, and then go back. You could sort this by your students, or you could sort it by a date and fix any student on any day that needs to be absent. Remember, if you fail to do that work, every single missing day will be considered an absence. Again, you could just pop those things around. The file that you get out of level 0 has 3 extra fields in it. If you align it to be in these places, then you would remove the info in those columns and not actually delete the exact columns. It all depends on how you lay it out, what you're comfortable with. You could call us for help with this too. The first thing I like to do, though, when I'm helping a school with this, would be to analyze the data. I would copy 2 columns, the grade level column and the attendance date. And then in level 0, do a couple of quick functions. I'm going to get a copy of it, and then I'm going to remove duplicates. Then I want to count how many records are missing on this date and that date, so that I can see if there's any patterns, or, like especially telling me if level 0 thought I had school on a day when I actually did not. Working in Excel, I'm going to create a count if. I'm going to point to the column where all the dates are in the original downloaded file from level 0. Then I would say, let me know, I want on my analyzing worksheet here, how many times, count the dates in the original worksheet when you see this date on this worksheet. In Excel, and it works in Sheets also, when you choose an individual cell and you want to copy a formula down, just double tap on that little, power button. I'm not sure exactly what they call it, but, it gives you the power to make things happen fast, and you can copy that formula all the way down. Now I see that on June 3rd, level 0 thinks that I'm missing 120 records. And the first thing you want to consider is, did we have school that day? Maybe I need to update my day calendar. A particular day at the beginning of the year, 52 records are missing. Was there something special going on that day that a grade level actually didn't have school? That's possible. If your day calendar says that instruction is for all grades, then level 0 would be using the information that that is an instructional day for all students, and it will calculate missing records. If on that day, though, only a particular grade level did not have instruction, then you'd want to break out that day calendar and fix it. Have a record for every day when school students were in, have instruction scheduled for the day, and maybe leave a particular date blank for the grade level that did not have school. Just totally have no line for that grade level on that day. Okay, here's another example. When an ATS enrollment does not match to a student's start date at your school, level 0 would find these dates and list them here. Given level 0 uses the official ATS dates as used in L2RPT, these records would be considered missing. So again, then I'd like to count the student IDs to see how many times a student has a record missing. Very interestingly here, in this example, I had an ID where 180 records of data was reported, but the ID does not at all, it's not listed in the import file. This is a great place to go searching for the name of the ID and to see what's going on. Why is this one missing? Maybe you imported data and had an error for someone else, 180 days of records, because that record didn't have a demographic. And again, so on and so forth. Make sure you review what's going on there. Before loading the data, if you've utilized what needs to be a blank column with student names and grade level information, you just have to delete the data that's sitting in there. Make sure that you have modalities reported on all attendance dates. You can either skip them when someone is absent, but when someone is in school, present, or tardy, they must have a modality. Those blank columns are great for adding extra data. When you need to delete it, be sure that you are doing a clear contents and not deleting the actual columns. If you're having trouble with your file and you send it to us, and we see these all the time, especially with Staff Snapshot when those fields are so big, you might have hidden columns. If you create the CSV and those hidden columns end up not being extracted, then we will help you to quickly get them back in at the right place. The best way to change your dates if they are wrong in Excel or Sheets is to go to the formatting section. In this example, you can just barely see it. I changed it from English America to English UK, and they give you the option to report the date as the 4-digit year hyphen 2-digit month hyphen 2-digit day. Again, be careful when you're loading data. For the most part, you're going to use the default setting where you do not delete the data that's in level 0, you just bring in new data or additional data. So as you can imagine, and how long it took to go over all this information, reporting your data is not a task that can necessarily be done quick and easy. If you have, PowerSchool, Alma, Jupyter, one of those, really nice software systems, it might be a simple task, but not necessarily. Please don't wait to the deadline. If you load the data, it's imperative, as we saw with the end of your checklist, that you review it in L2RPT to make sure that it is received by the state, and then come back to level 0 for any corrections, completing missing records and all of that. The only way to fix L2RPT is to fix the data in level 0. So it's important that you do that early. We don't judge your data, but we will count it. We will send out reminders when we know that you're missing data to try to help you get it all done and complete. When we see 2 records on the same day, we're not going to judge. We might have an idea like, give you a consideration like consider this or that, but we're not judging your data. We're just counting it, and we'll give you nudges to make sure that you've got stuff done on time. If this were a live webinar, I'd ask for questions and give you some answers. Here's a word from our sponsors, but please call us if you need us. If you 10, 15 minutes, you can't solve something, just call us and we'll help keep you up and running. Thank you.